Hello, hello, everyone. I'm really proud of that of that last one. I thought it was really cool of that slideshow. But welcome to the show. Thank you for coming. My name's Master Lash of Y Company. I've been in the SCA for over 3 decades as a fringy mercenary. I'm so happy to have this opportunity to showcase those that don't get noticed or fell through the cracks. And in my time, I've seen this happen quite a bit in our game, and I feel it's time for these people to get noticed. Like my current guest is Lady Thyra Bjornsdottir, war leader of Crimson Brotherhood. Hello, hello.
Hello.
I'm so excited.
That was cute. I like that you showed a bunch of the Brotherhood in that. That was awesome.
And you are like my lady. You are a camera ninja. I had to search for everywhere to find pictures of you.
Yeah, because I hate having myself on camera.
It was crazy trying to find that. So tell me about yourself.
I am on the spot. See, I hate the camera being pointed at me. No, I have been playing in the SCA since 2000. So I've been around for a long time. I was one of the 5 founders of the Crimson Brotherhood. I was the first war chief, and they have stuck me back in that role again. And I started off on the rapier field, got involved in heavies later on. Was not always a mercenary, but it's a lot more fun. I don't know. You got to ask me questions. I'm not good at talking about myself.
Oh, no problem. I have a ton of them to ask you, and we have like standard questions that we ask everybody. We've changed it up a little bit. We have a few that are different from our last show. So how did you get started?
When I was 16, I was an exchange student in Japan. And
I'm jealous. I'm so jealous.
Yeah, I lived in Kyoto for 3 months. It was fantastic. But on the plane ride there, one of the other kids in my program, this girl, Ashley, I sat next to her on the plane, and for the 16-hour flight, we got to talk about all sorts of stuff, and she mentioned that she was involved in this medieval reenactment group, and I was like, oh my God, that sounds like so much fun. Tell me everything about it. And then after all of the time that we hung out on that plane ride in Japan, 16-hour flight back, I was like, I have to see this. I have to see this. And this was back when they still did September Potreros. So when we got back at the end of the summer, it was like right before the September Potrero started. And so I went out to check that out, and I found this group. Because I was too young at the time, I know the rules have changed, but then you couldn't go onto the heavies field until you were 18, I think. But if you were 16 and you had parents present, you could do rapier. And I really was super interested in the fighting, and I didn't really care which field I was on. I just wanted to go hit people with swords. So I found Horizon's End, which is an absolutely fantastic nautical themed privateer group in Caid that does rapier work. And I happened to meet these people at a practice, and they were just forming their household and took me right in, and it was fantastic. And I fell in love with everything about the SCA, from that first war through that first group, everything.
Yeah, I think we met at Potrero War. Actually, I think we met you guys at the first Potrero War that I went to. I think that was 2008 or so, or something.
Oh, was that when we were camped next to the Royals and we had that crazy party?
Oh yeah, we'll get to that later. Oh yeah, something about spears. Yeah, we'll get to that later.
Oh, that was at a Great Western.
Yeah.
There were a lot of things that came pretty close to getting us kicked out of the SCA.
No.
Not us, no, not the Brotherhood.
Well, hey, that brings up another one of our questions. What were some of the challenges you faced when you started?
When I first started in the SCA, being under 18 was a huge challenge. Having to convince my parents to be present at wars so that I could go to them, and then having to find ways to keep my parents occupied so that I could ditch them and do fun things. Was its own set of challenges. But I mean, thankfully, my parents were not too reluctant to allow me to get involved in this. And I think that Horizon's End was a big part of that, because even though I was the only person under 30 in that group, probably, they were all just so fantastic. And my mom got along with them really well. And she was like, okay, these are good people. I'm okay with letting my kid be in their hands. But it is challenging being underage at events, because I mean, we all know that it's not hard for a 17-year-old to get a hold of some booze at a war, but there are a lot of the things that are kind of idolized amongst, 17-year-old degenerates are things that you have to have your parents around to get involved in. And I don't know. There's a lot of challenges with being underage at a war, and so I'm probably making myself.
That's still going on now.
What's that?
Do you think that's still going on now? Do you think kids right now who are 16, 17 years old, do you think they're having the same problems?
Well, of course, but I don't know. I think the majority of the kids that I see at wars seem to be the children of parents who've been involved in the SCA for a long time. So they kind of grew up around the environment. But it's always going to be a challenge being too young to participate in, just like I was talking about not being able to go onto the heavies field because I was too young. And I'm so thankful that I got that start in rapier, but that was, it's kind of hard to go to an event and see something and go, I want to go do that. I want to go be out there with those people running around hitting each other, and being told, no, you're too young. That's a very difficult thing to handle for a kid.
Well, that always sucks.
Yeah.
A lot of the times we always talk about other people because we love to talk about other people. We love to talk about the things that they've done and how great they are and stuff like that. But we never talk about ourselves. And you are like doubly so.
Right.
But we're going to focus on you right now. So okay. What do you feel are some of your accomplishments in the SCA?
Accomplishments in the SCA.
Yeah, just the SCA. We're not talking about all these other cool stuff you do in the mud.
Starting the Crimson Brotherhood and building it into what it has become, I think, is an accomplishment. It started as 5 kids who were in their late teens. I didn't know really anybody. I was the only one that was actually involved in the SCA at the time. And my friends, I knew that they would love it. And so I dragged them out to a war. And of course they loved it. And we somehow turned that group of 5 kids who didn't really know what they were doing into a group of, I don't know, 50 something probably, if we actually managed to get everybody in the same place at the same time.
So,
which is impossible.
Who are the Crimson Brotherhood?
We are sorry, say that again.
Just kind of outline what the Crimson Brotherhood is and who you are.
We are a mercenary warband, modeled after the early Viking settlers in Ireland. At least that's how it started, and we've collected a bunch of other people along the way, as Vikings do. You know, you gotta steal people from new lands to boost your numbers, and but we're very, very spread out. I have no idea how the vast majority of us met each other, but we have some centralized groups throughout California. And being Vikings, we call them ships. So we've got a ship in San Diego, we've got a ship in Los Angeles, we've got a ship in Northern California. We've also got some stragglers up in Oregon and out in Colorado and all over the place. But we do our best to spend as much time with each other and kind of keep this family, this spread out, incredibly eclectic family together as much as we can. And I mean, we've got rocket scientists that work for JPL. We've got professional blacksmiths. We've got professional historians. We've got everything that you could think of involved in this group. And that's something that I love so much about the Brotherhood and about the SCA, is that you can meet all of these different people from so many different walks of life and instantly be best friends and consider themselves family in a very, very short time. I feel like I rambled.
Nope, not at all. No such thing on my show, because I am the king of ramble. So
okay,
no such thing. Now you were talking about you started the Crimson Brotherhood, and
yes.
For those of you who don't know the Crimson Brotherhood, you should really go find them, because they are some fantastic people. They party hard, they work hard, they fight hard, and they're really, really fantastic people. And mercenaries, so hire them, and they're also they've actually stepped out more than most other mercenary groups, and they've actually ran stuff and done things at events and we'll talk about that here in a bit. But I just wanted to, they are really fantastic people. So doing that, how are you successful at doing that? I mean, how were you successful in what you did, but also to get the other people to do the same thing?
It's a damn good question.
Yeah.
That I don't know that I have an answer for. Passion. Just passion. I'm passionate about people. I'm passionate about fighting. I'm passionate about the SCA and having something that is so much more than a hobby to so many different people, and keeping it alive. And yeah, so I mean, that's most of my drive, is just I have a passion for what I'm doing, and in building the Crimson Brotherhood, what I was doing was building the Crimson Brotherhood, and all of the other things that we've kind of stepped out of that fringy mercenary role into things like doing the pottycrat services at Potrero and stuff, is really just all about keeping the game alive, so that we still have a place to go and get out of the real world and connect with our family. And
so just like you mentioned, you guys were the privy crats at pottycrats at Potrero, and every event you guys have done. You guys do service at every event that I've seen. You guys
absolutely.
You guys are always volunteering for privy duty or for constable or gate duty or.
At Potrero, we are the exclusive pottycrats, keeping care of the stone privies, keeping them stocked, being a liaison with the rangers anytime something needs to be fixed. We need them to come out and do something. That's for, I don't know, 8 years now, something like that. That's been our role at every Potrero. Yeah.
That's so
and
awesome.
every war, we make everybody do some form of volunteer service. At Potrero, that's really easy. Everybody does the pottycrat duties at Potrero. but so many of our brothers step out to do so much extra volunteer work on top of that. And then every other war we attend, Great Western, Estrella, which apparently is not going to happen anymore, but we always make a point to make sure that as many of our people as have a moment of free time, you got to spend at least some of that out there volunteering in some capacity. You got to help keep this dream alive.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And that's why I love you guys, because Black Company is exactly the same way. And it's really nice to let people know out there, people who are watching, that we actually do this, because a lot of people don't even know. They haven't seen it. They don't notice it. That right. Yeah, we're fringy, yeah, we're mercenaries, but we do a lot of work.
Well, there certainly was a time in the younger days of the SCA when we did not step out and do so much of that because we were too drunk all the time. Not to say we're not drunk a lot of the time now. We're just more highly functional alcoholics.
So, we talked about you started very, very, very young. Yeah. And in that same vein, who is the youngest person that you interact with right now in the SCA?
Youngest person I interact with right now in the SCA.
Other than the soon-to-be baby coming from Rivka and Chibi.
Right, the negative 2-month-old is
right.
Is,
Yeah.
But also we have a couple of other kids in the Crimson Brotherhood. We have a few other parents, and their kids come out. It does change the camp a little bit when the really young kids are around, but only in that we party outside of the campground or outside of our site more than we do inside the site, because everybody's so responsible. Everybody in the Crimson Brotherhood, I would trust with my 2-year-old, just as Troll has trusted us with his 2-year-old. To just having these people around camp to take care of these kids, and everybody just immediately steps up to oh no, we need to keep this kid safe, we need to keep this kid occupied and entertained. And
so the reason I ask is that because that's what I was also going to lead into, is that how has that changed as kids? How has that changed the dynamic of your group? I mean, has it?
I don't think it. I mean, in certain ways, I guess it has, sure. But I mean, we're all the kind of people that, like I said, you can leave your 2-year-old and know that they're going to be safe with these people. And even though we're a bit rowdy and rough on the outside, we're all sweethearts. But I don't think it's really changed all that much. I mean, we've quieted down a bit. We haven't actually hosted our own parties in a long time, probably for that reason. At least that's a big part of it, having kids in camp. But I think we just all kind of turned into a collective group of parents for every child that gets born in the Brotherhood. It takes a village, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or a Viking horde.
Yeah. So there's another question I had was how did when the kids, the young kids that finally actually came to events and came to hang out, how did they react when they first showed up? How did the
little kids react?
Yeah, when they came into your camp for the first time.
So the first Brotherhood kid that we had was Damien Meatruck's kid. I think he was 8 or 9 at the time, and he wasn't really sure the first day or two what to expect or how to react or what the hell was going on. And then he saw the boffer fighting and was like, Daddy, can I do this? And so a couple of us got together and made him his own armor and got him all set up to go out on the field. And we're always there rooting him on at the boffer field. He's got this, giant cheerleading section. He hasn't, They haven't come out in a couple of years. They've got busy with some home issues, but yeah, I mean, that was, I'd say that's probably most kids' reaction is what the hell is this, until they see some aspect that they're just super excited in, and then there's the door. They're at least excited in that one thing, and then that gets them to at least tolerate the rest of it.
And so the reason I was asking is because there's a lot of people out there that have kids, and they're some of them want to bring them to events, some have never brought them to events, and they're always worried about
totally bring it kids.
Yeah, how their kids are going to react. Should they bring them? Should they not bring them? And
if you're camped with a group that has other kids, I would say absolutely bring your kids. If you're camped at a group that doesn't have other kids, then I think it's pretty necessary to have a conversation with the rest of the group about that beforehand, and kind of understand that your entire war is going to be just like your home life in guard. Because you can't send them off to school, you can't take them to daycare. You got to be on top of your kid the whole time. But no, I mean, I don't think that I've seen a kid come out to war and not enjoy it. I don't think that I've seen, I mean, we've never seen any of the kids in the Brotherhood, but in other units as well. I mean, I've come across kids all the time, all day long at every war, and they always seem to be having a bunch of fun running around beating each other with foam. And yeah, I don't know, totally bring your kids.
Cool, because I mean, some people just don't know, and they feel self-conscious about it, or they don't, So it's
which
just
is
nice.
entirely understandable.
Yeah, and which is nice to just tell people, hey, you need to bring your kids.
Yeah, bring your kids.
So we actually
just bring them to all the youth stuff. There's so much youth stuff that happens at wars.
Yeah, and which is now that's the other thing I was going to ask. I'm glad you brought that up. Is that along the same line? Is that when you first came in, did they have any of that youth stuff going on when you first came in?
Not that I remember, but then again, I mean, I was 16 when I started, so I was a little too old for, the boffer and the really youth oriented stuff. And I wasn't quite old enough for the heavies field. It's kind of a weird, awkward in between age to get involved in something like this. But
that's maybe something to think about also, is that maybe that's something we need to focus on now.
Absolutely.
That could be happening now with having that in-between thing.
Right.
That might be something just to keep an eye out for, just to see if that's a thing.
There was, I didn't participate in it very much because Rapier allowed me the opportunity to play with real swords. But they did, at the time that I joined, Caid at least had a light weapons. They called it light weapons, but it was Shinai that they used. And it was kind of for that in-between range. Like once you're a little too old for boffers, but you're not old enough for the heavies field yet, you can do this kind of in-between fighting. And I think that was fantastic. I mean, that was kind of the way that I got the other founding members of the Crimson Brotherhood in, was through the Lights program, doing Shinai, which they stopped doing because it got so far away from anything historically accurate. But that's definitely something that needs to be brought in, but also off the field stuff too. I mean, there's so many things that happen at wars and at events that are off the field it's not all about the fighting. And so there definitely needs to be more outreach and inclusion for younger people, for sure.
There's something other than fighting?
Probably don't start teaching the 14-year-olds to brew mead yet, but
well, some of the kids in the SE already know how to do that. So we actually have sponsors, if you can believe it, and which is just awesome. And one of the things that I always like to let people know is that, hey, if you ever want to be a sponsor, if you ever want to get on the show, get a hold of us, and we'll gladly throw you in here and get some people out to you. So commercial. I love that music.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah. But we actually have one that is a friend of yours that that you wanted to let people know about, and we can throw that up. You can tell us about it.
Awesome. Yes, this is right now she just has the Etsy shop, but she's working on something much bigger. It's my friend Allison. She is an absolutely amazing woodworker. You have to take a look at the stuff that she makes. It's just, I've been doing woodworking for half of my life and cannot compare to the stuff that she makes. Like, it's just absolutely fantastic. So if you need any sort of wooden ware of any form for wars or outside of wars, anything custom work, definitely check her out.
All right. I love giving shout outs. I really do. Yeah, I love it. And her link will actually be in the chat for the show, and because we actually record the show and it goes into YouTube, and all the comments, everything go into there so that people can look it up later, which is fantastic. So this is the part that I kind of call the meaty section, where we really get into the heavier questions, so we always start off with the worst one, which is, what's the worst thing that's ever happened to you in the SCA?
Worst thing that's ever happened to me in the SCA. That's actually kind of a tough and personal thing. I mean, everything comes with its good and its bads, but I'm transgender, and when I first came out, and had not been out of the house publicly as myself, and this would have been back in 2012, 13, something like that. I figured that the SCA would be like the perfect place to go out as myself for the first time, because it had always seemed to me to be such an accepting environment. And that first war was horrendous. It's absolutely horrendous. And I know I'm ridiculously tall, and I was not very good at makeup and hadn't started taking hormones. And obviously I wasn't, I was not passable by any means. Well, thank you. But I expected some looks, some stares, something like that. But I was everywhere that I went that entire war. And I even ended up leaving the war early, which is the first time I'd ever done that. I always stay through till Monday. But yeah, no, it was everywhere that I went. There were snickers, there were comments, I was made to feel incredibly uncomfortable going into certain camps that I had been in 1,000 times before and knew people at. So that was really bad. And I have definitely experienced recently a lot more, and I don't know if this is just a cultural shift in the outside world, or if the people in the SCA have gone through their own kind of cultural shift. But much more recently, I have noticed a lot of other trans people at events comfortable going out and being themselves, and a lot less backlash happening when they do that. So there's definitely been some improvement there.
So when these things happen to you, and which is I think is absolutely horrendous and just not cool. Did anything happen to correct it at that time? Were there other people around that corrected it? Was there other people that did some on the spot correction back then?
There were. I mean, I'm sure I could have run to you.
Hell yeah.
You weren't there. Because I'm trying to remember his last name. His first name is Guy. He was the Baron of Calafia for a little while. Completely blanking on the rest of his name. At the time, he had just become the Baron, and he came and sought me out and asked me personally to tell him if there was anybody that was doing anything that made me feel in any way uncomfortable, to come find him and he would take care of it. And awesome. he was a great, and I had already had a good relationship with him. He was one of the first people in the SCA that I told when I came out, but he was absolutely fantastic and on top of everything, and really, really, really good. And then of course, so much support from the Brotherhood and some of our other mercenary groups.
Yeah, I am. I think to me, that it was extremely courageous what you did, and it, regardless of these other asshats, these other fucktards that were doing this stuff, the courage that is seen, it's seen by other people, and it's seen by us. It's seen by people who may not know. They may be on the same cusp that you were, trying to decide if they want to do that. And for them to see someone come out and just do it it's courageous for them. It gives them courage, and it gives them hope. And I think you're amazing. And so I'm just going to tell you that, and we'll move on, because I think you're amazing.
Well, thank you for that.
So the next one is, what was the worst thing that you have seen done to someone else?
Worst thing I've seen done to someone else. I'm actually I'm gonna bring that back to something earlier, where we talked about there was a moment where the Brotherhood almost got kicked out of the SCA.
I knew it was coming.
It ended up being a good thing in the long run, but at the moment it was in the moment it was horrible. It was a Great Western War, and
no shit, there we were.
So I got a constable coming by our camp and sought me out, saying that there were reports that people from our camp were throwing spears into the royals' tent. And I mean, what? What actually happened was we had a wonderful spot right on the beach with a whole bunch more land than we needed. And someone had this it was a tiny little short, practically a toy spear. And they were playing lawn darts with a pizza box as the target towards the water, where there was nobody, had already created the safest situation to do this they could. And then someone who was camped relatively close to us, who had heard a lot of things about a reputation that the Crimson Brotherhood had, which was entirely false. one thing led to another. The telephone game goes up, and somehow that turned into people from the Crimson Brotherhood are throwing spears into the Royals' tent. We were camped nowhere near the Royals. It was a physical impossibility. And we were doing everything in like a much safer way. And that report, them going to the constables about that eventually led up the chain of command. And there were a few other things that we had done at other events that were sometimes equally blown out of proportion. That kind of put us on a watch list, and we were informed that we were getting a letter of uninvite from the society. And so later on in the war, that same guy who was eventually Baron, at the time he was the head constable for that war, he comes over and says, I wanted to meet you and I wanted to understand what's actually happening here and have a conversation about this. And we ended up having a good conversation. And he told me, like, if there's something that you want to do at an event, just come to us first. Like, if you want to have a spear throwing contest, we'll have a spear throwing contest. Just come to us first, and we'll find a way to make it safe and fit within, everything. And to which I replied, if we put up floating walls in the water in front of our camp, can we skinny dip? And he said, I like your ingenuity, but no. And then he asked if we would be willing to help out with some of the volunteering services at the following Potrero, to which I replied, absolutely, I will make my people do it. And that eventually led into us doing the potty crat things. But that woman who came over and accused us of something absolutely ridiculous, based on some rumors that she had heard about our group and some rumors she had heard about something that we were doing, and saw a spear in the air for a brief moment. That was a horrible thing to do. I mean, to put a camp on essentially a government watch list for not actually doing anything bad. You just think that they're doing something bad because you're playing into these rumors and things like.
Yeah, and it wasn't even something cool.
Right. There were so many things that we actually did that we could have been blamed for. That one was stupid.
No, never. Nope. Stayed at a Holiday Inn Express that night. Yeah, nope. So on that note, is it that it took one person to cause this whole thing,
right?
So how do we fix that? How do we fix this kind of thing, or is it being fixed already? I mean, I know you mentioned earlier that things are changed now. Things are a lot different than they used to be. Things
overall in the SCA, just on the whole, are a lot different than they used to be, for sure. It's a lot harder to get away with a lot of stuff. Again, I'm making us seem way worse than we are. I do think that things are improving, that things overall are moving in a better direction. But in some ways, in other ways, things are not moving in a good direction, because just as the outside world is becoming more and more and more polarized and more susceptible to rumor and negativity and that whole us versus themism, I mean, that happens in the SCA too. That's not going to go away when you suddenly step out of the modern world. And there are a lot of people that are just prone to, I mean, that woman was clearly having a bad day already. and she wanted to complain about something and jumped out on something that she could complain about and get somebody else in trouble to make herself feel better. And that's a mentality that some people just have. And I don't know how to work on that. I don't know how to get people to go, am I actually seeing the thing that I'm seeing in front of me with my own eyes, or am I looking through my own preconceptions that are coloring what I'm seeing? You know,
the powers that be actually identify that person,
right,
and say, okay, from now on, we're just going to have to take it with a grain of salt, whatever they say.
Right. It's a personal thing that everybody needs to do whenever you feel inclined to look harshly upon another person for whatever reason, through whatever preconceptions, whatever it is. Just take a step back from the situation and try to look for the truth rather than.
Yeah, and the same thing actually happened recently to Black Company, but it's kind of similar. That I actually had somebody tell me that they don't ever come into our camp because we're intimidating.
You guys.
What? That's, I know. I had to sit there and like think. I'm like, what? Yeah. Oh, we don't ever go in there. You guys are, you guys are intimidating, and Lash is intimidating, and all the big guys in there are intimidating. And I'm like, but we want you to come in.
Right.
We want you to come say hi.
Right.
But this is the same thing. Is that?
But that's exactly the same thing. It's I can absolutely see from an outside perspective somebody who has never come across you guys before, but maybe sees you out there charging into a giant group by yourself and taking out two guys before you get your ass beat, and goes, these people are fucking insane.
Yeah. Yeah, and you guys are right there with me, though.
Absolutely.
That just goes right straight across the board. You included.
I've been there. Yes, I tend to just shoot people for you now, but there are plenty of times that I've had to use my axe to like vaudeville Rick back from charging prematurely. But yeah, I can definitely see how somebody who doesn't actually know anything about you would see you've got a bunch of big burly guys in your group.
Yeah.
That there could be some intimidation there, and not flying any real flags, not having any official association that anybody knows with, pointy hats.
We all have resting bitch face,
right?
Which we know. We know it. I do. I know it. Somebody called me Darth Vader because I was constantly having resting bitch face in my helmet. So, yeah. So, yeah.
I will say that your armor looks surprisingly similar to the Royal Guards in the new Star Wars trilogy.
Sweet. So
I thought they might have been copying you when I saw that the first time.
Yeah.
It's like, they've seen Lash on the field. Is there a Scadian that's in this production department?
That's interesting. I'm gonna have to check that out too. Find out if there actually was. Because some things I noticed. What was some of the best thing you've seen to happen to somebody else?
I don't know if I can come up with off the top of my head a best thing that I've ever seen somebody do to somebody else. But as much as there is the occasional negativity within the SCA, I've met so many people and come across so many people in mercenary units, in royal units, in every flag under the sun, who will immediately step out of their way to stop and help somebody in just about any situation. And I think that we can throw a lot of negativity around. It's easy to throw a lot of negativity around, but overall, there is not a nicer group of people on this planet than at a war. There are some really rotten eggs in the mix for sure, but I think there's something inherent in the kind of people who decide to spend their spare money in ever shrinking economy by going out to these events to spend time with these people that often you come across a bunch of people you don't know, and maybe somebody beats your ass on the field, gives you a really, really nasty welt in a place where you should have been wearing more armor, and you find them later at some campsite and you offer them a beer and go, good job, man.
Yeah, to get a Sharpie, they get to sign it.
You know, like it's just, it is a fantastic place full of awesome people. So I don't want to pick out one nicest thing I've ever seen somebody do.
No, you don't have to. That is just was fantastic as it is. The
this fur is getting hot.
Well, that's occupational hazard for you. One of the things that I wanted to say about one of the best things that have ever happened was how welcoming Crimson Brotherhood is to other people, but also at wars, I've seen you guys just out of moment's notice, something happened, a pop-up goes flying. There was one event, there was a fire. There's other stuff that you guys, the whole entire camp, without even anybody saying anything, ran that direction. And of course, we were all running that direction, but
wow.
And that to me is, you guys personify what is best in the SCA.
Oh.
And so that's why I wanted to tell you guys that, because I mean, you guys know how I feel about you, but everybody else doesn't, and they should. Just to tell how kind of people you are and how amazing you are.
Well, that's just how, when the sandstorm from the mummy comes out and engulfs the battlefield and somebody's great hall is flying away, how do you not go save it?
Yeah.
Like, that's just the right thing to do.
That's exactly what I was talking about. Yeah. And yeah, you guys are awesome. Now comes a really, really fun question. This is a really fun question. If you had absolute power in the SCA and you could do anything.
It's a bad idea.
Oh no. No. What would you do, or what would you change? Well, let's just say, what would you change? And not the drinking age.
No, there's a very solid reason why the drinking age is where it's at. We could change anything about the SCA. I mean, I would remove the bitchiness from bitchy people, but that's not possible. There is one thing for absolute certain that I would love to see happen, is better scenarios on the heavies field.
Oh, hallelujah.
Because, I mean, that is one thing that the rapier field gets right, is every single battle at every single event on the rapier's field is a story with an objective, and it makes everything new and fresh. And every battle on every event on the heaviest field is, we're going to do a bridge, now we're going to do a castle, now we're going to do a broken field, now we're going to do an open field, and there's no fucking point to it. Storylines, make it entertaining.
You went straight to hard suit. I love it.
Yeah, I think that the SCA is pretty solid. I think that there does need to be there is a huge divide that I see with a lot of mercenaries, especially younger mercenaries and pointy hats, and the idea of wanting to be involved with each other in any way. And I think that that's problematic, because everybody should be there to have fun. That's the whole point. You're escaping the real world so that you don't have all the drama and crap of the real world.
From high
you
school.
can come out here and have fun in your escape. So be there to have fun. Have fun. Yeah. Don't impede on other people's ability to have fun.
Yeah. Okay, so that means that the one thing you change is that everyone in the entire SCA has to have fun.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
There's one rule that everybody should have to live by. Do whatever you want to do, as long as it does not impose on anybody else's ability to do whatever they want to do.
Awesome. So we have something we do, which is called we do shout outs, but we also do something called throwing someone under the bus. And you have thrown 2 people under the bus that you totally think need some recognition and people need to know. So let's see who that is.
Where on earth did you find that picture of Aster? Wow.
I have my ways.
It's fantastic for Turlogue. No, these are Turlogue and Aster of the Crimson Brotherhood. Turlogue, former Jarl of one of our ships. I was Warchief briefly, just fantastic, absolute person. Aster has been our galley mistress and camp mother forever, but outside of the Brotherhood, we've been discussing some of the stuff that we do just to aid in the war experience in general for everybody. And though the Crimson Brotherhood on the whole always helps out and always takes care of the privies at Petrera Wars, it's really these 2 that are responsible for organizing everything, for attending the baronial meetings to make sure that all of the supplies and everything that we need are set ahead of time. They take a lot of their own personal time out of both their real world lives and their Brotherhood lives to be there to make sure that the privy situation at every Petrero goes off without a hitch. So they really need some recognition for that.
Yeah, and they both are fantastic cooks.
Yes.
Yes, and they're just fantastic people. But normally we just have the guest pick 2 people to throw under the bus. But I'm going to throw you under the bus. Not only being an awesome person, but you are also a published author.
Yes.
Yes, you are. And so the name of your book was Dangerous Skies, and it is available on Amazon.
Yes.
And we are going to put that link to your book in our chat. And so it'll be in the YouTube video also, so people can go check it out. And everybody, it's a rule now, because you got to have absolute power, so everybody has to buy this book. So
awesome.
Do it.
If you like steampunky adventure kind of stuff, it's fantastic. The sequel is currently being edited. There's a 3rd on the way, and the audiobook is going to be a 1930s style radio drama that's currently being done. So, and
you were also working on a film.
And I'm also working on a film called Crazy Sick. It's under my new production company, which just officially created a production company called the Gorgeous Trashfire Productions. This is the first movie that we're putting out. It's called Crazy Sick. It's going to be at the Mendocino Film Festival in November.
Woo!
Yeah.
And will be the future winner of the Cannes Film Festival.
Of course.
Yes, absolutely. It's a rule.
We're making that happen.
Yes, it's a rule. Everybody has to vote for it.
Because Lash said it, it will happen.
Well, no, because you have ultimate power in the SCA right now.
Again, bad idea.
So, this actually, we've almost been on an hour, almost an hour, if you can believe it. And I just wanted you to know how much I love you and miss you. And Sho wanted me to tell you, because you're her drinking partner, that she misses you too and loves you, and that that I don't want to sound condescending, because I really don't, but I am really proud of you. And because you are an inspiration to me, to a lot of other people, even though you don't realize it. You are an inspiration to a lot of other LGBT people out there that really need that boost right now, and that they need that help, and that
don't make me get emotional on camera.
I'm not trying to. I'm not, because I'm already there. So, but
well, thank you.
I just wanted you to know how much we care about you, and now everybody else is going to know how awesome you are, and hopefully they'll come talk to you at Great Western War.
Crimson Brotherhood camp's always open.
Yes. And the other thing is I know we did a shout out and stuff. I just saw something pop up on my feed real quick. I'd like to because this has something for you also. Is that one of my really good friends, Blue? She and her partner, they and their partner, their house got burnt down in this last fire that's been up here. I don't have a lot of the information, but there is a GoFundMe on the West Kingdom page. We'll also make sure that we have a link here that that we can help them with. And excuse me with the pronoun things. I'm still learning to do proper pronouns, and to help them, both of them. Jane the Reborn and Laird, who's also known as Blue. There's I'm sorry, this is just coming at me now. But we have up on the West Kingdom page, and I will actually share it around my pages too, so everybody can have it. And just to send them some love, try and help them out. I'll see about doing some fundraising for them, and hopefully we can get them some help. But also, I just want to say thank you so much for coming and doing this, and so that everybody else can know you and know just how awesome you are.
Well, thanks. I don't know what else. I don't know how to respond to any of that. So,
and then if you would like, you can hang out in the lobby and watch the show and talk to us after if you want, or if you have other stuff to do, that's fine. We'll talk to you later. But thank you so much for being here. Mwah, love you. Oh my gosh. Woo. Wow. I really love Thyra. She's really close to my heart because she's just a courageous person. So the next part of my show is called Being Real. And what it is people who have problems and they need some help with, they send me letters, and I read them online and so that and give my opinion of, what I think can be done to help them, or if they need it, give them some kind of advice or something. So this is my Being Real. Dear Lash, I've been attending the local practices and events, including baronial meetings, and I feel like I am forgotten or unwelcome. It's not that I'm treated bad or people are being rude to me. It's more like I am just ignored. I have tried to talk to people, but I feel they're just being polite because they listen and they smile, say some small talk or some kind of small answer, then ignore me again. What can I do as I really like the atmosphere, but I feel all alone in a crowded room? Please help. Okay. That's actually a pretty common thing for a lot of people. There are a lot of people out there that are introverts. There are other people out there who just don't know what's going on in the dynamic of the SCA, and especially at practices or events or at meetings and stuff. What I would suggest is to find someone you're comfortable with, if you can, if there's somebody there that you're comfortable with, and try talking to them about this issue. And almost everybody I know in this game, if somebody comes to them with an issue and says what's going on, they are going to help you. And try and find someone that you do feel comfortable with, and that if you can find somebody you're comfortable with. Or another option, if there's nobody there that you know or feel comfortable with talking, is maybe become somebody's deputy, like say the exchequer, the seneschal, the gold key. Ask somebody, say, hey, I'd like to be your deputy, somebody that you would like to interact with, and then start learning that job from them. And pretty soon your interaction will become second nature, and you'll get to learn about them, they'll get to learn about you, and then that gives you an in, that gives you a way of talking to somebody, and also you can speak to them once you have gotten over the first part of that first interaction. If you can start talking about that to them about the same thing. There's also a lot of online things you can do. You can go on Facebook groups, and which is a little more, not so in person and in your face. And like there's a group on Facebook called the Circle of Chivalric Discussions. That's a really good place to go on and ask the same question. If you don't want people to feel bad in your area, that you're in, by stating this, and possibly hurting somebody's feelings or something like that, or whatever, you can go in and just put it as a generalized question. Since you have already contacted me through email, why don't you email me, and we can become Facebook friends or something, and I can help you with the same thing, or introduce you to people that I think you would do really well to know. Or in your area, I'm not very positive I know where that is, I can find out, and we can hook you up with somebody who will help you, and hopefully keep you around, because we need everybody, and everybody has value. And so I hope you see this, and contact me or contact somebody else. I really hope so. So I have the whole thing with Blue actually is kind of throwing me a little bit. I'm sorry, but because I really love them, and they are great people, and they sure could use the help. So I will be definitely doing that. So that's kind of on my brain too. So I apologize. Right now we have what we call the Ask Lash segment, which is if you guys have any questions or would like me to expound on something or something, ask in the chats, and my amazing Justinian, my tech guy, will throw it up on the screen. So do we got anything? William, is it pronounced Flieger? And oh yeah, this was on a previous show. Sorry, yeah, this was on a previous show. How do you avoid event burnout, considering how long you've been doing this and how many events you attend? Yeah, I attend a lot of events. I've been doing this a long time, over 30 years. There for a while, I didn't avoid it. I just powered through it, and until it took my lady to come and tell me, no, you're not doing that. You're not, you need to take a break. So she told me to get, say, 3 things that I can do a year. I can autocrat 3 events a year. And then you can only do so much hours of volunteer work at events. And so you need to help you with that is to limit give yourself attainable goals on how much time you're going to spend doing it. Especially if you are a helium hand like me, or what we call helium hand, helium. Don't do that, and really start thinking about the things that are going on and things you have going on, and make sure that you think it through before volunteering, because one, we don't want you to burn out, because we want you to be happy and to stick around, because burnout does happen and people get tired of it, and a lot of people do feel that that they have to do something, they have to do it because there's nobody else to do it. Well, there's always somebody that can do the job, and if there's not somebody there to do the job, then we spread that job out between other people, just so people don't get burnout. So that would be the best way, I think, to avoid getting burnout, is to just to limit yourself on what you do and how much time you do it. How was that? Do we have any other ones? Yes, maybe. Well, I will take a drink. Why are you doing that? I'm not seeing anything. Okay. Hey, no problem. Not a big deal. So I may be talking, one may pop up. So after this segment, I have what's called, I kind of call it my Paul Harvey section, where I kind of expound on something or talk about something. And one of the things that I think is kind of, I just read this again because I happen to keep this certain book around me when I'm feeling stressed out or something. I read this book, and it's just a book on about Buddhist stories and things and mythologies and stuff that make me feel. Oh, we got a question? Oh, okay, go ahead. From Camber Menschel. When you're on the roses field, how do you announce your target? So just for those who are not in the West Kingdom, the roses field is during a crown tournament after I believe it's the 4th round. They collapse the fields and then they open up the one half of the field for the roses tournament, which is you go in and you challenge someone and you guys fight 3 passes, and the winner of those 3 passes has the loser go to Her Majesty the Queen, tell Her Majesty the Queen who won, and receive a rose, and tell her who that rose is going to, and that fighter then takes that rose to whoever the winner designates. It can be anybody, and it's a really great idea. It's a great way to show your appreciation to people, including your consort and other people. It's really a great way to like. I always send mine, of course, to my lady, but also to the list table and to the gate, because they are amazing people who need to be patted on the back once in a while. But to announce my target, I really kind of don't. I just walk up and get right in their field of vision and say, let's fight. Now there's a couple other times that I've actually did a flowery speech to the person just for fun. for one of my friends or something. But if it's somebody that I really, really respect and really admire, then I will go through a whole thing of asking them to, if they would like to honor me with combat, and I will give them my Japanese bow, and and then we'll go and do our thing. But yeah, so I don't announce my targets. I don't or anything like that. Whoever's out on the field, is my target. So I really don't kind of announce it, but I do, and sometimes we do fun stuff like go yell at somebody, and then you get in a hurling insults like elderberries, and do something fun like that. But most of the time, it's just I just go over and say, hey, let's fight and let's do roses, and then we do our thing. Oh, another question, Megan. How many mercenary groups are in the SCA? Wow. Well, right now in a couple of the groups that I belong to on Facebook, there are just in that one, there's 62, I believe, at the last count in that group, 62 groups. Now that could be a group of 4 guys or 3 guys or 2 guys or whatever, but I believe I'll have to go and look at that, but it's close to 60s that are in that group, and we try and get more and more word out to come and join that group. And I believe we have over 600 members of that group. I think I'd have to go and look at it, I will do that. I'll go and look at it, and then I'll answer it in the chat, and so it's on the recording of. Once I get those numbers, I'll go ahead and post that on there. That's a great question, because we actually have another group called the 13, and that's 13 of the largest mercenary households that we know of in a group. That's a great question. Maybe we can get more people who see this chat, chime in and go get on that page. That's great. And another one, Bueller. Okay. All right. So this is what I call the Paul Harvey segment, and I was reading this to kind of chill out from work and stuff, and it really rang true to me to what's going on in the SCA now and in the past, and maybe it's something that you feel the same way about how we carry things around with us, and we really shouldn't. So for this, I'm going to kind of pull something from many moons ago. I believe it's still relevant, and it could be I think it could be also a root cause of our membership decline, and also drama and strife and stuff that happens in our game. So let me tell you a little story. So a senior monk and a junior monk were traveling together. At one point, they came to a river with a strong current. As the monks were preparing to cross the river, they saw a very young and beautiful woman also attempting to cross. The young woman asked if they could help her cross to the other side. The 2 monks glanced at each other because they had taken vows not to touch a woman. Then, without a word, the older monk picked up the woman, carried her across the river, placed her gently on the other side, and carried on with his journey. The younger monk couldn't believe what just happened. After rejoining his companion, he was speechless, and an hour passed without a word between them. 2 hours passed, then 3, and finally the younger monk could contain himself no longer and blurted out, "As monks, we are not permitted a woman. How could you then carry that woman on your shoulders?" The older monk looked at him and replied, "Brother, I set her down on the other side of the river. Why are you still carrying her?" We all go through times in our life that leads us to hold on to things better left on the other side of the river, and yet we still carry them and only hurt ourselves. What are you still holding on to that could be left behind? Old grudges, bad memories, unkind words. Maybe those are things that we can leave behind us on the other side of that river. And maybe it would be a little bit better place. So I really, especially with all the stuff that's going on now in the SCA, and we're finally kind of getting back into stuff. Maybe we can drop that stuff and leave it on the other side of the river as we go into our new era in the SCA. So I'm really hoping we can. So thank you so much for being here and for letting me do this. And thanks to my wife for putting up with me, and for Justinian. Thank you so much. And to Cal and Kalbardr's Korner for doing all this stuff. We have some upcoming shows in Cal's Korner, and he has August 22nd I believe is the last conversations, and they have a new one coming up after that. August 25th is What You Playing Wednesday, and August 29th is Coffee with Cal. And I actually have a soft spot for Coffee with Cal, because I actually got to be on that show with him. And also, it's really nice to just wake up in the morning, have a cup of coffee, flick on his show, and really enjoy it. And because it's just, I really do enjoy the show, and it's just a lot of fun. So with that, I again want to tell everybody thank you. And this is Lash the Black Company, sending out love and affection to all of you in our game. Always remember, be the brick. Be the brick. See you next time. Same Lash time, same Lash channel.